Falls Creek South is a unique neighborhood in the city. In fact, it's a very important one in the development of the city because it was planned and largely built in the 1970s as really an experiment in re-urbanization of the central city here. And it was done as a sort of ground up or very community engaged planning process. And they created a set of principles that they stuck by through that whole process and really continue to this day.
It's a sense of neighbourliness in everything. It's neighbourliness in the shape and configuration of the buildings. It's neighbourliness in the features that are provided, like the parks and the walkways and the way you get to and from where you live. The protection of views and privacy for everybody. The enclaves create little private places for the internal parts of the community, and yet they're also connected to people going through. So the people who go through don't interrupt and disturb, and the people who live there don't mind the people going through. So it's a very clever piece of planning that allows a significant thoroughfare, in fact, of Vancouver to participate with a residential development. Obviously, I live in a utopia. I mean, I walk to work. I hardly ever use my car. We really only use the car to take the boys to dance classes. I walk to get groceries. I'm constantly outside. My children are constantly outside. We live in a mixed income community where it really doesn't matter how much money you make or what your family is made up of. If you're a single mom, you still have a place. There's no shame involved in anything here. We all chose to live here and we all love to live here. So we all have that in common. And I think that's so unique. And it's a plan that was made in the 1970s, and it's worked, and we're living proof. And there's far more people like me who are living proof. Diverse people, elderly people, people younger than you, people with differing abilities, mental and physical. It's an experiment, and it just went so well.
The Falls Creek itself was largely fallow industrial land at that point. So this was a pretty bold experiment to come here. And in many ways that experiment continues on and has survived, and people have raised families. There's a second or third generation here now.
Here I used to swim when I was a kid. We live in an environment right now where there's a co-op and it's flanked by some strata units. It's completely mixed income, it's completely mixed age. Without the opportunity to live in a co-op, I wouldn't be able to live down here in basically paradise.
Acknowledging and celebrating that community is kind of the starting point for the planning effort. The reason for engaging in a planning effort now, although it's a very successful community, is that there are a whole range of issues, not the least of which is that the community was really built largely on city-owned lands that are on long-term leases. And now, 40 or so years hence, those leases are set to expire in 18 to 40 years from now. And so that presents a level of uncertainty and a need to sort of say, what does this community want to be for the next several decades, for the next half century or more? We, the city and the community there and the surrounding neighborhoods, really need to take a stock of what the current issues are. The question for us is really with issues like the housing crunch or crisis that's now pervasive in Vancouver, the need to continue to attract families to the city core, the need to kind of refurbish some of the infrastructure, make better connections into the surrounding neighborhoods. It's kind of an isolated little island, in a way. Those are issues that we need to take stock of now as we think about planning for the next set of families who will live here. And some of that will involve gradual redevelopment of the area into new buildings. There's some buildings that are reaching the end of their life and certainly will in the next 20 years. There are opportunities for people who want to age in place in the community to move out of a large home into a smaller one. So that's kind of the challenge that we're dealing with now.